this Sunnyside Summer Thursday. This is the CHGO White Sox podcast. Visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders. Welcome in to the CHGO White Sox podcast. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, the full CHGO White Sox crew. That is Vinnie Duber on the far left. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer. You can read his work up at allchgo.com. The man in the middle, Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
Our CHGO White Sox community leader. And with Vinnie having his writing up at allchgo.com, you can access that by signing up for our introductory sale, allchgo.com/intro. We're building the biggest and best community of CHGO sports fans, and we want you to be a part of it, so much that we're giving you a special offer with our lowest rate ever.
What a deal.
What a deal. Well, I haven't even told you about it.
But lowest ever. It has to be a deal.
You're already excited. Become a CHGO diehard today for just $4 a month billed annually. That's right, just $48 a year gets you a free t-shirt, access to Vinny's exclusive written content, and the entire CHGO staff's written content, plenty of discounts, and access to our CHGO Discord lounge where you get to chat White Sox with all of us. So go sign up at allchgo.com/intro. We are leading off the show with some Tony La Russa talk. Tony is now promoting a new nonprofit and went around the radio scene to get some promotion, and man, did it work. We're talking about it now. So there you go. That's how media works, folks. So Tony La Russa had some comments on Jerry Reinsdorf possibly selling. We're also going to go through the ARB eligible and club options that the White Sox have because it is off-season project plan time. Sox Machine has rolled out the whole what's it called? Guidelines. Mm-hmm. So now I get to follow guidelines. It's very easy when I have guidelines. You know,
you love guidelines.
My brain loves to run amok. So when I have guidelines, I get to stay in between the guidelines.
You bowl with the rails on, don't you?
Oh, yeah. You can bowl without them? I didn't realize there was lanes without him. So we're going to talk a little bit about who will be on the 2025 White Sox. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the whole show. Shout out to Drake and Brandon for hanging out with us in the chat. Hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribing. Thank you to Kevin Wells for producing the show today.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Let's get into Tony La Russa's comments. He spoke to Kevin Wells as WGN, but it was a little milk toast, maybe. Am I using that correctly?
Boring? Are you looking for boring?
Yeah, it was a little sorry,
bland.
Kevin.
It's GN.
Come on.
Like what else less say to GN?
Less zing. He goes on to WBBM though. Sorry, Kevin. And he is asked
WBBM.
about Jerry.
You went on FM? You wanted to talk to Eddie and Jobo? Oh no, AM. You're talking about. Okay, they're still doing it, right?
Who's WBBM FM?
That's just B96.
Yeah, they got an FM signal.
That's B96.
105.9.
Right?
No, it's a different one.
Oh, okay.
Anyways,
great times, great oldies.
La Russa told WBBM News Radio, Jerry's not selling that team. He followed up by saying Dave Stewart has gone to a couple of owners that he has known very well. Jerry's one of them, and they had a conversation about Stu's pursuit of an ownership. I think the speculation that they were talking about doing it in Chicago somehow, there's just no grounds there. Tony follows up and finishes by saying Reinsdorf wants to improve it to where the Chicago White Sox fans come to the ballpark excited for a chance to win. What do we make of Tony's comments here?
Well, I'll say this. What Tony said was very much in line with what we heard from Jerry last summer, right? Mm-hmm. The idea that why would I ever want to sell the White Sox? I love owning the White Sox, and boy, do I want to make them better. It is my mission to do that, right? Obviously, fans are going to react to that whatever way they will, but that is what Jerry said last summer, and that's basically what we just heard from Tony La Russa, who, as we know, is one of Jerry's good friends and would know, right? So that is the biggest takeaway for me, though, is that Tony La Russa is kind of the guy you would go to find out about what's going on in conversations, reportedly, between Jerry Reinsdorf and Dave Stewart, because the immediate connection that we made when that athletic report came out last week was, good Tony La Russa friend Jerry Reinsdorf talking to good Tony La Russa friend Dave Stewart. No wonder they would be having these sorts of conversations. What Tony is saying there, I think, probably makes the most logical sense, but, of course, we've got a trusted media outlet reporting, as they do so well all the time over there at The Athletic, reporting on the opposite, that Jerry is potentially open to sell and in active discussions with Dave Stewart to do so. So obviously these are contradictory words, but I would say that both sources are probably pretty trustworthy, including Tony La Russa, who, like I said, would be the guy to go to when this specific duo would be paired together.
When I hear the words of Tony La Russa saying, like, Jerry's not interested in any of that, and I agree with you, Vinny, that's goes along with what Jerry has always said. And so I tend to believe that, but also I have some pause. I'm like, is there a work here? Is there a reason why Tony La Russa, firstly, is doing the media tour? We found out, he's launching a new animal rescue place with his family. But why would he, is there a thing that he's saying that Jerry won't sell the team now? Is there a advantage for the White Sox and or Jerry Reinsdorf for him to say that? And I'm trying to rack my brain. There is no real benefit for Jerry to have a liaison like Tony La Russa go on to these media markets and say, yeah, he's not selling, because to me that's counterproductive if you are truly selling the team. So as Vinny said, there's no one that is closer in the baseball world, maybe even in the world in general now, to Jerry Reinsdorf than Tony La Russa. And I don't see a reason for him to actually lie or to fabricate something for the benefit of Jerry's team or for the benefit of Jerry Reinsdorf. So when the words are spoken, I got to believe that Tony La Russa knows Jerry, and what he's saying is pretty true. And I'm not discrediting Britt Crioli. She heard what she heard. She does good reporting. But if there's a person that knows Jerry and will speak on his behalf, where Jerry's like, I do not speak on unsubstantiated rumors and unsourced rumors, well, Tony can. He's not Jerry, and he laid out, hey, he's not selling.
He's not, but also he doesn't deny Britt's reporting. He said that Dave's talked to Jerry. So, yeah. I mean, it could have just been Britt heard that Jerry was having a meeting with Dave Stewart about ownership. Maybe, it was a game of telephone where things got mixed up a little bit. Maybe the intent or the seriousness of those meetings maybe wasn't communicated enough. But the more that we are away from that original port, it does seem like we are in a safe zone when it comes to panic about this, especially after what Tony said. I don't think it's anything like he's breaking bad against the White Sox. I think that the true natures of Dave Stewart and Jerry Reinsdorf's discussions were mostly trying to just benefit Dave as he now steps away from that Nashville club and starts his own club, along with trying to get an NWSL team in Nashville. It seems just more like more guidance from Uncle Jerry to Dave Stewart rather than anything malicious or, the White Sox are moving to Nashville.
And wasn't that the conclusion we came to, the logical conclusion that we came to back in December when we talked about this all back then, which was, oh, Jerry met with the mayor of Nashville. What is this? Is this the latest stadium play kind of thing? And the conclusion we came to was, oh, maybe he's just talking to the mayor of Nashville on behalf of, be it Major League Baseball owners or even Dave Stewart, who he obviously has the close relationship with Tony La Russa and connects him there. So maybe there are some non-panic conclusions that we can come to. I'll say this. Obviously, the day-to-day workings of a baseball team and the business of trying to get a stadium built are two very different topics that are probably handled in very different ways by the people in charge. But what struck me about covering Tony La Russa versus covering the other managers that I've covered is a far less amount of BS, right? Whether it was Ricky Renneria or Pedro Grifol, there was an active seeming kind of company line that we're not going to divulge too much, right? We're not going to, we don't want to, go out too far out on a limb about what an injury might mean for a player. It was, kind of routinely frustrating, and I'm sure we weren't the only ones in baseball to deal with this. But for those of us in the press box, that we didn't know who was the starting pitcher for the next day, oftentimes because there was this maybe competitive advantage that the front office and therefore the managers thought that they were getting. Tony La Russa didn't really do that kind of thing, and while maybe the people with my job are the only ones who really appreciate that kind of thing, it was noticeable. And again, these are different situations than, hey, who's starting game 2 of tomorrow's doubleheader versus, moving chess pieces around trying to get a new stadium built. But I just would want to bring that up as we kind of try to figure out what is actually true and what's not.
So you're saying it's just more serious. You don't do the subterfuge that many baseball managers do for no reason. I never understood why they're so secretive sometimes in baseball. Like we see tape. We're understood. If you're either going to throw this pitcher or that pitcher. It's not that much different.
Well, and the thing that's always so funny about that is pitchers nowadays, it's so less trying to fool the hitter than just, I'm going to try to beat you. You know what I mean? Like, you'll do an interview with a pitcher, and a pitcher will tell you every single pitch they have. They'll tell you exactly what they're trying to do with it. They'll show you their pitch grip. Yeah, I mean, there was all this hubbub, and rightfully so, over what the Astros were caught doing and that kind of thing. But, most pitchers will just be like, all right, know what I'm going to throw. You still got to hit it, right? And so the idea of, we don't know whether it's going to be Jared Schuster or Chad Kuhl in the first inning tomorrow. Got to keep the other team on their toes. I'm sure that the pitchers themselves will be like, yeah, let them know I'm coming. I want to beat them, kind of thing. So it was always kind of a funny juxtaposition there. But Tony La Russa did not do that kind of thing nearly as often as other managers that I've covered did.
So I'm just coming to the conclusion that I don't think Jerry sent Tony La Russa out to do this media thing. This was just a thing to promote his new venture as far as animal rescue. And then, we'll ask you about the World Series that's happening tomorrow. We'll ask you about the White Sox, and we'll ask you some other things. And so he did spill a couple things, and I don't think initially when you sent that story to me, I was like, oh, wow, that is just a weird thing that Tony La Russa is saying about Jerry not selling a team. Like, why would you volunteer that? But he was just having a regular conversation, and there's not a person that knows Jerry better than Tony. And so if he says it, I'm going to believe it.
Yeah, BBM says that La Russa suggested the meeting was mischaracterized, which, with the lack of follow-up, with the lack of any news since that original piece from The Athletic, feels like it's just leans to be true. I think it was just maybe a little bit too overzealous with the wording. I don't know how serious we can take Dave Stewart as a true financier of an ownership group right now. Right now, it doesn't make sense. So I think it was definitely a little bit of a stadium play, but also at the end of the day, I do think, as Tony says, it was likely mischaracterized. Just Galaxy asking, didn't Tony resign from his animal organization due to running it badly or something? I don't think it was him specifically. The reason why he left ARF, which is now Joy Bound Pets, People and Pets, was due to some odd situation with a dog named Lovebug. Now, Lovebug is okay. Lovebug was rescued and returned to safety, so shout out to Lovebug. But Tony is no longer with ARF, and now he is with PenFed Foundation, a national veterans organization to spread the word about combining veterans with dogs. So there's your PR plug, Tony, even though you didn't give us time, so you're welcome.
We didn't ask.
I didn't know. Did you know?
I didn't.
Okay, so there you go. Hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We're going to take a break, and then we'll jump into some contract talking, looking forward to the 2025 White Sox here on the Sunnyside Summer Thursday. Vin, you take it away with ComEd.
Are you ready, Vinny, to talk about the folks at ComEd? They can help businesses save money by becoming more energy efficient, Vinny.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know ComEd did that.
Yep. The Energy Efficiency Program can help you find up to 35% in energy savings.
Wow, 35%? What does a business have to do to get their hands on that 35% savings?
I'm glad you asked. Just sign up for a free facility assessment at ComEd.com/biz.
Herb, that sounds so easy. Why aren't more businesses doing it?
Maybe they forgot the website, Vinny.
Oh, maybe. I know the website. It's ComEd.com/biz. Should I just repeat it? ComEd.com/biz? ComEd.com/biz? ComEd.com/biz?
Should do it, Vinny. But we really appreciate that. Terms and conditions apply. Offers are subject to change. Actual savings will vary by customers' energy usage and rate. The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is funded in compliance with state law.
Thank you very much, guys. We also want to let you know about our friends over at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less than on at least 2 players for a shot to win 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. PrizePicks is the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. And there's no better time to get started because you got MLB going on starting tomorrow with the World Series. You got NFL tonight. You got college football tonight and Saturday, even Friday. And you got NBA now with their season underway, along with NHL. So there's no better time with all of the sports going on. PrizePicks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so your lineup stays in play if you, maybe take a shot on a random NHLer and he gets checked out of the first period. Your money's protected. So go check out their app today. Use code CHGO on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CHGO to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, hit the thumbs up button if you haven't yet. Make sure you're subscribing. And make sure you check out Sunnyside.shop on the Sunnyside Summer Thursday. We can go to the graphics I sent you, Kevin. Shout out to Sox Machine. They have rolled out their off-season project plan. I have put one together. James, Jim, and Josh.
Triple J.
We're throwing out the idea that the White Sox budget in 2025 might be anywhere from $80 million on the low end to $113 million. And they were talking about going on hard mode here to try to, if you really wanted to test yourself, try to make it an $80 million budget. I have gone through, I've filled out all 26 men, and we can figure this all out after, but I can reveal, what my budget is for the 2025 White Sox.
Let's add it up.
I just don't, just before we go, I don't like how eligible spelled, but whatever.
Oh, well, yeah, I missed a G. So that's on me. And I spelled it, too, so I can't even throw Kevin under the bus.
I mean, it might be right.
For not spell check.
Ellie Bile is good.
No,
I don't think it is. It is kind of bile. Those names down there are kind of throw up inducing.
I don't think it makes sense. All right, so all I need from you guys, yes or no. Will they agree to this projected ARB total?
And these numbers are projections courtesy of MLB Trade Rumors.
Yes.
And you're asking our opinion or the opinion of us for the White Sox? You are asking us to act as White Sox, or you're asking Herb and Vinny what we would do? Or both? Because there's different answers.
Yeah.
Sean doesn't care.
Just
I'll go
answer the damn question.
All right.
I mean, what step into your character. What is your character? What does your soul say?
I will say that I'm going to act as Herb, who is the general manager of the White Sox.
Vinny, how are you going to be acting?
I will be acting as Chris Getz.
Okay. All right. So for ARB eligible players, Vaughn, would you tender him or non-tender him?
I would non-tender Andrew Vaughn.
I believe the White Sox will tender Andrew Vaughn.
They just have so many other options available that are not $6.4 million. If they're looking to cut payroll, he is a player that, is fine in the long run, but he's a first baseman that doesn't hit home runs, and he's not good in the field. To pay that much, I think, is a mistake when you have other players available to play that position that can give you the same kind of output.
I think it's a $6.4 million bet that he will have a good first half of the season, and they will be able to trade him at the trade deadline.
I mean, they have a ton of room. I mean, even if they added on to this, they would still be well under $80 million. So the 6.4, I think, is affordable to this White Sox team, especially if they are looking to be on a budget. But I think there's just a ton of names. Down here, you also have Sheets on this list. You have Vargas, who we've seen play first base with the Dodgers before.
Mm-hmm.
Where's Brian Ramos going to be this year as well? I think there's going to be a lot of guys that could possibly play first base. You even have Tim Elko, who's down in the Arizona Fall League, making some noise, hitting some homers. I think it might be possible that they could just replace Vaughn for a lot less cheaper. And I think that might just be the end-all goal. It seems like they're really devoting their effort and money into the underbelly of the White Sox. And I think if they can skip out on $6.4 million and still give guys shots at first base, I think it just frees up a roster spot. I think that they're going to non-tender him. I don't have him in my current plan, and that's mainly because we'll go to Sheets next, just because that's kind of the what's it called, fallout. I think Sheets at $2.6 million just makes a lot more sense. It's pretty much half of Vaughn's projected total. He plays first base fairly well, if not better than Vaughn. And what we've seen from at least a position standpoint, when he does play first base, he hits well. And I don't know if that's because they're usually putting him in against righties, but Gavin Sheets does do well when playing first base or hitting. He does do well hitting when playing first base. I think it's worth a shot. You at least have a lefty, and that's the most important thing. Vargas, Ramos, Vaughn, Elko, all righties. Sheets being that lefty bat, I think sets him apart.
I couldn't agree with you more. And you can set up that platoon where you can have Gavin Sheets play only when he is facing a right-hander and maximize his potential to hit a bunch of home runs, and then have whoever you want. I would go with Tim Elko because he's making league minimum next year if he's brought up to the team, and have him face exclusively versus left-handers and do what Tim Elko does. So, yeah, I would, for $2.4 million, Gavin Sheets, I'm in. I think the White Sox will do that.
2.6. You can handle that 200K?
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay. All right. You want to flash that sign again? And we got Lopez next. Our guy, Nicky Lopez, Naperville Nicky. $5.1 million. Will he be tendered or non-tendered? Chris Getz?
Non-tendered.
Non-tendered.
Non-tendered Nicky.
That's way too much money for what he does. He has value, but not 5.1 million value.
I think he's a guy that they could possibly bring back. We'll see what his market would be like. He did very well with the Braves, adding a defensive glove to a playoff team. I think he also hit well with them there. But 5.1, I have him non-tendered as well, because that's just a lot of money for a guy that's, I think, pushing 30 years old, which I know as a person that is pushing 30 years old, I don't mean that disgracefully, but just
in the baseball world.
That's the way sports works.
Listen, I think you're right. I don't think the White Sox are uninterested in Nicky Lopez. I think the White Sox are uninterested in paying Nicky Lopez $5 million.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know exactly what his number would be, but I think if he wasn't able to find a suitor, I think 1 year, $2.5 million, 1 year, $2 million wouldn't possibly be in the ballpark for Lopez, which,
listen, it totally depends on what the market ends up being, what the infield market ends up looking like. They signed Tommy Pham, a guy who was red hot in the World Series a postseason earlier, to a minor league contract in April. So the free agent market has a way of twisting things to avoid anyone's projections. That's for sure.
Yeah, Lopez was near a WAR last year. I think it would be very surprising to see him get anywhere near $8 million or $5 million, but we'll see. I mean, maybe somebody wants a glove for a second baseman.
Yeah, and I can see some contending teams saying, wow, Nicky Lopez is a fifth infielder, a guy who can play both of the middle, up the middle defensive spots at a good job, too. He's a finalist for the second base Gold Glove. Yeah, somebody else will not pay $5 million for him, but probably pay more than White Sox are willing to.
And he has a leadoff experience, so there you go. I don't think I need to ask about this one. Garrett Crochet is the next name at $2.9 million.
Yep,
Do we
hit the
just
button
want
already.
to sing this like a chorus? Tender.
Yes, I hit the button already.
Okay, all right.
But if they non-tendered him, that would create a lot of content for you guys.
Because
but
there's going to be plenty of Garrett Crochet content regardless, Kevin, not to worry.
That's like wasting your own time going to a voting booth on November 5th and just writing in a vote for
yourself.
Mickey Mouse.
Garrett Crochet.
Dracula. Yeah, Garrett Crochet. There you go. I mean, honestly, it's total waste of time to non-tender him because it's the only person that's worth value pretty much on the White Sox, and especially at $2.9 million. Easy. Let's go quick. De Los Santos.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Picked
Inexpensive.
him up for a reason.
Yeah. And he's pitched all right.
Kevin, who the hell is De Los Santos? You're saying yes. You don't even know who De Los...
Yeah, I watch White Sox.
Who is he?
He's a pitcher.
He's in
right to your lefty.
He's a starting pitcher. He's a righty.
He's not a starting pitcher,
Not
but
a starting
okay.
pitcher.
Enyel De Los Santos.
Yeah.
That's correct.
That's
I
a
got
lot
the
of
other
money
two
for a
confused.
relief pitcher. I mean, they paid Chris Flexen $1.5 million. I think De Los Santos is an easy non-tender, but I mean,
I think he'll be back.
He made some good impressions for you guys. Jimmy Lambert, tendered and non-tendered.
I'm tendering him. He was out all of this year pretty much, but when he pitches, I think he's effective. Yeah.
He's been very injured. I would not be surprised if he gets non-tendered just because he's not been healthy.
Yeah, and last update we got was back in August 24th, and he underwent shoulder surgery there. So I mean, when would he realistically even be ready? for the 2025 season? I'm unsure. So I would say non-tender on De Los Santos and Lambert. I thought those were fairly easy. Do you guys really want to have an in-depth discussion about De Los Santos?
No.
Okay. All right. You want to flash that again? Our guy, Kevin. Justin Anderson.
Absolutely.
Every day.
Yes.
$1.1 million.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was good.
Yeah, for his role and what he did, he worked.
He's the new Brian Wilson.
Hand
Shaw.
up, I don't know who Wilson is.
Steven Wilson.
Steven
lying in
Wilson.
bed.
Our guy, Steven Wilson. $1 million. He was up with the Major League team, sent down to Charlotte, was a part of the Cease trade. Tender or non-tender?
I think
Wilson?
yes.
Tender. Yeah.
I agree with those. I have Anderson and Wilson being the top paid relievers for the White Sox in 2025. $1.2 million and $1 million. Everyone else, $800K. They're all making the league minimum. So there you go. And that, I guess, spoils Matt Foster. I'm going to non-tender Matt Foster. Any thoughts on Matt Foster?
I mean, I guess it would be the same reason for Jimmy Lambert, right? The guy just has had a very poor health track record. You know, some bright signs when he pitches, but that hasn't been very frequent.
You're not going to spend a lot of money, and $900K is not going to break the bank. Yes, he's oft injured, but I think it's a tender for me.
Herb's bringing him back.
I guess so. Hey,
I say him and Lambert are gone.
I agree with that. He really, I mean, I kind of even forgot he pitched even for the White Sox in 2024. He was all right in Charlotte. I wouldn't be surprised, I guess, if they kept him because it is $900K, like you mentioned, Herb. But I wrote him down as a non-tender. So my bad, Matt Foster. Also, my thought too, if they tender him, he has to be on the 40-man roster, right?
Well, he already is on the 40-man roster.
Right. So if they non-tender him, he'd be removed from the 40-man.
Yes.
Correct. He'd
off
be
the
a free
team.
agent.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think just the freshening up of the team. Matt Foster's been a vestige of this team since 2020. It's one of the long-lasting White Sox. I don't think he's ever been that wowing. Maybe you could keep him around, but I'm against him.
The reason why I'm saying most of the relievers come back is because you don't want to spend money on bringing in new relievers, and I don't know if they have enough of the minor leaguers to replace these guys.
Well, my answer to that would be how many guys pitched this year that they signed to minor league contracts back in February and March. You know what I mean? I mean this team was full of guys, including Justin Anderson, by the way, who they just took a flyer on, and then they ended up being the bulk of the bullpen for the bulk of the season. So do that again, I guess. I would not be surprised if that's another route that they go this offseason.
Your guy Dominic Leone was, I think, a minor league deal too. Here's the bullpen that I have so far. Anderson making $1.2 million. Steven Wilson making $1 million. Jesse Schultens, the return.
Jesus Christ.
He's back. He tore his UCL in 2024 and got his accounting degree, but he's back. I think Jesse Schultens, because he could be a long guy, $800K makes sense for me. Addison Coffey, guy getting called up from Charlotte, he's making $800K. Gus Varland making $800K. He was very good for the Sox at the end of 2024. Why go away from him? Jordan Leisure was a very intriguing name coming into 2024. I think they gave him another shot at the major leagues in 2025. Yeah. Jared Schuster still around for $800K. Yep. He gives them length. He
did
gives them
everything they wanted him to do this year, yeah.
And it was pretty consistent, too.
They leaned on him heavy, and he was not bad.
And then the other guy that wasn't bad, Frazier Ellard, $800K. So you got two lefties in the bullpen. Maybe you need some more there. Addison Coffey, I guess, would be the mainly fringe guy along with Schultens, depending on how he bounces back. But I think they have the arms. And, hey, if you want to add a De Los Santos, feel free. If you want to add a Matt Foster, feel free. I don't know if they're going to go for it. I think they'd rather just circle out as many guys as possible. Because, I mean, you even go and see a guy like Declan Cronin. I think he's lighting it up for the Marlins. Yeah. I mean, that was a guy that they just let go. Jake Cousins, a guy that's pitching for the Yankees in the World Series. They gave him up for like $50K.
Tim Hill,
who they just DFA'd. So there you go. I mean, I think bullpen arms would be not even few and plenty, or few and far between. The opposite. Good and plenty.
They'd be good and plenty, like the candy.
Speaking of
candy bar.
Candy talks back on.
Talking about a trash candy.
It would be plentiful.
Plentiful.
The selection would be plentiful.
Good and plenty is just trash.
We're going to take a break on the dot at 4:30. We're going to let you know about our friends over at Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Our friends at Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary are here to elevate your fall. Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping. They have a crazy selection with over 100 different strains to choose from, with easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Wherever you are in Illinois, Sunnyside has a location for you. They have spots as far south as Champaign and as far north as South Beloit. If you're in Chicago, they have the Wrigleyville location. I really like the Emerald Park location. It's just a little bit of a drive, but it's a nice area there. Go wherever you are in Illinois and stop into the store nearest you for expert guidance from their staff or select from quality lines like Cresco or FluoroCal. And available now, good news is LTO, limited time offer, Island Vibes. They're available in disposable vapes, 510 carts, and live resin gummies. Good news, Island Vibes for next level staycation. They also have destination relaxation. That's Good News' Island Vibes, and Good News' Island Vibes Puff Puff Paradise. So go over to sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. HICHGO at sunnyside.shop. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day. Only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders.
GameTime has a new feature called GameTime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. GameTime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. A couple weekends back, we went to Anderson Paak, and we went to GameTime because I know that going to GameTime, I'll get the lowest price guaranteed with their GameTime Guarantee, which states that if you get a lower price in your section and row, then GameTime will send you 110% of the difference, just like I got in Atlanta a couple years ago. A couple other features that I love about GameTime is they're all-in prices. Toggling this feature will show you the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. Also, you get a panoramic view of your seat in the app before you buy. And with GameTime's ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use the code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CHGO for $20 off. Download GameTime today. What time is it?
I'm sick. Game time. Who? Yeah.
Hey, you hanging in there?
Yeah, it doesn't hit the same way.
A little nasally. You
A
all right?
little nasally. Yeah, I'll be all right. It's Friday coming
That's
up.
your rap name, right? Lil Nasally?
Lil Nasally.
Yes.
Yeah, we're on tour coming up on December, so check us out. Anyways, let's get into the club options for the 2025 White Sox. This should probably take about 2 seconds. Hey, Chris Getz.
Yeah.
You picking up Yohan Moncada's $25 million club option?
No.
Okay. All right, so that's going to be a $5 million buyout. And then, Herb, I'll ask you, because I don't think you're going to be clamoring for Moncada's $25 million club option. Max Stassi, picking up the $7 million option?
It's been real, Max. It's been real. I hope you enjoyed the money in 2024, but no, you're not getting any money in 2025.
It sucks, Max Stassi never made his White Sox debut, so shout out to the White Sox legend, but I agree with both of those. Declining the club options, which is funny, because in 2024, they had to pay Leury Garcia $5.5 million with his deferred buyout. Now in 2025, that's finally over. They got rid of the Leury Garcia contract. What does that buyout add up to, though? $5.5 million. So there you go. We get rid of Leury Garcia, and Moncada and Max Stassi replaces him. So
I thought you were going to point out that Larry Garcia's buyout was larger than Yohan Moncada's.
No, I didn't think about that.
Imagine just being handed a $5 million check on your way out the door. Sounds pretty great.
Absolutely.
Hey,
Yeah.
that's the way to go.
And then he
Yeah,
doesn't
right?
have to play
Like,
for the
come
White Sox
on.
anymore.
And he barely played the last 2 years.
Fresh.
Yeah.
Said he's in his prime.
Yeah.
He said he's ready to go. He's playing with the Cuban Premier 12 League. So we'll see how that ends up. All right, so we've gotten all of our big decisions to make. There's still trades to be made. I'm not going to force you guys to go through and give me a Garrett Crochet trade. It does seem...
Thank you. I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think, though, we're probably 75 to 85% likely that Crochet gets traded. Am I a little bit too low on that number?
I don't. Oh, too low?
Yeah.
I
Like,
think
do you think it's more like
probably-
90%?
No, because again, I mean, what did we spend the majority of last offseason saying? They don't have to trade Dylan Cease. They don't have to trade Dylan Cease. And they got to March and finally got the deal they wanted, and so they did. But I think they were more than okay with going into the season with Dylan Cease on the roster, thinking that, hey, when the trade deadline rolls around, people are going to be lining up for him. And if that scenario repeats itself with Garrett Crochet, I think they'll feel the exact same way and be like, all right, nobody's giving us what we want here in November, December, January, February, March. Start the season and let him pitch, let him be an all-star again, and come talk to us in July, and we'll take a deal if it is good for us then.
I think that the success of the LA Dodgers, especially their starting rotation and how they've kind of cobbled together a pitching staff, it might hurt the Garrett Crochet market there because, this league is a copycat league. They see, okay, you don't need Clayton Kershaw. You don't need Glasnow. You don't need your top arms to get to the World Series. Yes, you got to have the best player in baseball, and he'll be coming back next year to pitch. But I think the market might not be there for what the White Sox want for next year because these teams are like, yeah, starting pitchers is great. That's awesome, but Dodgers got there without them, and the Yankees have been subpar, and all these other teams that have gone to the playoffs where we're like lauding the Kansas City Royals, their starting pitchers like failed in the playoffs in the second round. So the Lugos of the world, they didn't do as well. So I think the market won't be there for Garrett Crochet like we want the market to be there. Now, the Baltimore Orioles, if they want to come play ball because they're going to be losing Corbin Burns, that would be my preferred spot for him. But I don't know if the White Sox will get the deal that they got for Dylan Cease that they will get for Garrett Crochet, which I think they'll be expecting more.
Real quick, Seth Lugo getting hammered for giving up 2 earned runs in 5 innings in a game that his team lost 3-2.
Hey,
you put him in a position to win.
Herb, I don't think you're off base in suggesting the market might not be there for Crochet. Maybe it might not be. We saw it take a long time for Chris Getz to get anything close to what he wanted for Cease, right?
Yeah.
I think the reasoning I would disagree with. I don't, because here's the thing. Ask the Los Angeles Dodgers, what sort of rotation you'd rather have, and they're going to take the ones with all the high money pitchers in it, right? I get your point about, hey, anything can happen in October. Maybe you don't put all your eggs in one basket if you can avoid it. But the Los Angeles Dodgers would much rather have Tyler Glasnow starting game 1 of the World Series. They're going to be very happy to have Shohei Ohtani in their rotation next year. And if they get the chance to put Garrett Crochet in it too, I think they will be more than happy to explore that opportunity.
And honestly, I think the Dodgers are probably more inclined to go spend on starting pitching with the way that this is all played out and transpired.
Many years in a row, even in a year where they could win the World Series, it just keeps happening to them.
Right, 100%. Yeah. I mean, I think that you look at the depth of their prospects, they would be able to go out and get a player like Garrett Crochet with the current minor league that they have. And it's not like they haven't been able to replenish that. I mean, this is a living, breathing organism that is made to destroy Major League Baseball and win as many World Series as possible.
And as we've seen just kind of in general, when it comes to free agency, it's not those top of the market guys who don't have interest. It's the middle, right? It's the middle tier of guys and the lower tier of guys that suffer more in terms of the market kind of crushing them and crushing the, for lack of a better term, market for them. I think Garrett Crochet has currently moved himself into a tier that is elite enough that teams would be clamoring for him. Although the things have certainly changed, and as we saw at the trade deadline with Garrett Crochet, people are not necessarily inclined to part with those prospects like they have been in years past.
Maybe they get that reliever on the Dodgers, number 45, Kopech. How do you say his name?
I think that's right.
Yeah, all right. If they can get him, that'd be great.
I would be in love with the idea of getting Zaire Hope. He is, I believe, now the 48th ranked prospect in Baseball America. He is a former Cub. Kevin has a nice.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, I like the face that Kevin's making now that I'm talking about a guy that used to be a Cub. He was a part of the Jackson Ferris trade, right? The Michael Busch trade. So I mean, that was a trade too, where they dealt from their major league team to get some minor league depth and acquired Jackson Ferris, who's a highly regarded pitching prospect. Zaire Hope, who's now going to be a top 50 major league prospect. He's an outfielder, has some pop, left-handed hitter from Virginia. I think he could be a very intriguing player at 19 that could possibly headline a Crochet deal. Like I think that the more and more we see 2024 play out, the more and more the Dodgers will have interest in Garrett Crochet. I mean, if you have interest in Tyler Glasnow, who hasn't pitched over 125 innings because of injuries, well, Garrett Crochet just pitched 140 with injury concerns, and I don't think anyone, especially with the way that he ended his season, that last outing, I don't think anyone was like, oh, this guy can't do. I mean, he could pitch probably into the postseason right now. So I think that Crochet's value is honestly the highest of anyone out there in the offseason. Burns is going to get like what, 175 plus million? Like I think it's going to be more appealing to give up younger players than pay that type of money.
Depends on the team.
This is going to say it's just money,
right?
And I think
that
Garrett Crochet, when he's traded to teams, I think his thing of, hey, you're going to have to pay me is still going to be there. Like, I'm sure when he gets traded, he was like, hey, that Tyler Glasnow deal sounds excellent. Give me that.
But it doesn't have to be made. I
Doesn't
mean, even
have
if
to
he can be traded without his approval.
You know
he doesn't
who
have a no
needs-
trade clause.
You know who needs Corbin Burns? The Baltimore Orioles.
Right.
Yes.
They need to bring him back, and they've got a new owner.
That's tall timber.
I could see him going right back there for a
The Athletic,
big amount of money.
The Athletic projected Burns to get, I think, what it was like 220. It was like above 200, which would be insane for a 31-year-old starting pitcher on an 8-year deal.
He's
But
pretty good, Kevin.
You can extend it, but you can extend a 25-year-old for $125 million.
again,
I mean,
there's only a couple teams that would pay that, though. The Dodgers would absolutely pay that.
I think that the Orioles
They
would
wouldn't
be
even think
smarter to
twice.
pay that too, because then if you go up against an Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, especially in that ballpark, I mean, you're going up lefty versus righty, but you're asking those players to hit it into that cavernous left field. It's like, all right, you're going up against Garrett Crochet, you get the platoon advantage, but I mean, go look how well Cole Reagan's pitched in Baltimore. I mean, he shut him out. And Burns, who even gave up one run, ends up losing that game because there's no ability for you to take a lefty deep to right field. I think that Crochet could probably benefit from just being in that park. I don't know. I think Crochet's value is exorbitant. I was also high on Cease last year, so maybe I'm just a little bit of a homer here. Maybe it's a little bit of
and
meatball
then
goggles.
Cease went out there and was awesome for the Padres for the most part.
Right to the
Not in
playoffs,
October, but yeah.
I mean, I'm all for Crochet being extended. I don't think that's going to happen. If they wanted to give him like a 4-year, $85 million contract, just throwing it out there. I think he's got 3 years left of control. No, 2 years left of control. So you'd have to buy out 2 years of free agency. I don't know how interested he is in that. I just don't think it's going to end up happening. I think Crochet being on the White Sox for 10 plus years would be great, but I don't think he will be. I think he's likely traded this offseason. That's why my starting five, Jonathan Cannon, make it $800K. $800 million would be a lot. That's even more than Shohei. Jonathan Cannon making $800K. Davis Martin making $800K. Sean Burke making
$800K.
And Drew Thorpe making
$800K.
And the final guy, bringing him back,
Ugh.
Chris Flexen, $2.25 million. You're groaning and shaking your head. They lost 121 games last year.
That's why you don't need to pay for a mediocre pitcher over the $800K you're doing. Put Jake Eater up there. Put any Jairo Uriarte.
Bringing back Enlil De Los Santos for like $500K less.
Yeah.
Chris Flexen just gave you 160 innings. I mean, the whole reason they picked up Mike Clevenger was to pitch 16 innings.
But wouldn't you have to re-sign?
Well, I think the reason was
and give
different
him
than
more
that.
money? Yeah. And also with the Dodger thing,
what were you saying?
you have to re-sign Chris Flexen. You have to.
Yeah, you have to make him an offer. I mean, it's 1 year, $2.25 million. You get the same incentives from last year. You pitch 75 innings, you get a $250K boost. You pitch 100 innings, you get a $250K boost. You pitch 125, you get a $250K boost. You pitch 160, you get yourself $1 million. So it could be a $3.5 million year, $3.25 million deal. And then, hey, why don't you give him a player option for $5 million? Because why not?
Oh, just put Jared Schuster in the rotation. Jairo Uriarte. Somebody else that makes $0 and can give you the same output that Chris Flexen can give you.
I don't know if Uriarte can, though, because, I mean, he's going up a level, 2 levels to Major League Baseball, and we're not even sure if he can pitch like 125 innings. We saw the same thing with Kopech when he came up.
I think there will be a veteran in that rotation next year. I don't know if it is Chris Flexen. I think the idea would be maybe that they would go to find, and this sounds weird, but the next Chris Flexen, right? I mean, like, it was a roll of the dice last year, a very inexpensive one. Chris Flexen is probably going to command a little bit, right, because of the amount of innings he was able to log. The White Sox can go and say, hey, we think this guy can be somebody who can throw 160 innings. And, oh, by the way, if he's got the results to go along with it, we can trade him at the trade deadline like they did with Eric Fetty. So I think there'll be somebody that they sign in free agency, but I don't think anybody's going to be jumping over the moon for who it's going to be.
Yeah, and hey, I mean, people really want to see a Jose Quintana reunion. He had less WAR than Chris Flexen, so maybe Quintana at $2 million. I think that he's pitched well enough, at least in the playoffs.
I would love that
to get him a second look.
That's just my man.
We'll see. All right, we're going to take a break, and we will jump into more future of the White Sox talk. We want to let you know, though, about our friends over at Rhoback Activewear. You all know by now we wear Rhoback all the time. It's quite simple. It's the best fit and feel of men's clothing. The quality of the gear speaks for itself. Their performance polos perform better in the heat than any other polos, and they're moisture wicking so the polo doesn't stick to you and has a nice stretch. And their everyday shorts are also perfect for the combo for a day on the move. They look clean, but use the comfort of an elastic waistband. And with fall here, what better item to prepare yourself for the season than by adding one of their performance hoodies to your closet. They're the softest items we own, and we can't take them off. And even when it does get hot, maybe you're in the subway, on the blue line. I know I usually get a little verklempt on the
yeah.
You
get choked up while you're down there on the blue line.
I think so.
I'm so emotional over the state of the blue line.
Maybe
right
it's
now.
not that word. Maybe it's just overheated. But I don't get overheated when I'm in my Rhoback hoodie. So go check them out at Rhoback.com, RHOBACK.com, and use code CHGO Sox 20 on Rhoback.com for a generous 20% off your first order. That's 20% off all polos, hoodies, and shorts with code CHGO Sox 20. Make sure to check them out, and they will have you ready for whatever travels or activities you have. So I like how I went out and finally spent money, $2.25 million.
Oh, not your money.
Yeah, my money.
Yeah,
and
okay.
I'm being told that's too much. I am $13 million under the $80 million on the low end, and yet I'm being told I'm spending too much.
For Chris Flexen, yes. I just don't like the player. You can go and get Chris Flexens all over the league aren't mediocre like he is.
Well, you're signing someone for $2 million.
But the point of getting them is that they're mediocre. That's why they're cheap.
For $800,000.
Kyle Hendricks.
I mean,
no.
I mean that is perfect.
Absolutely,
you're looking at a Kyle Hendricks. You're looking at you're looking at Michael Soroka again if you want him. You're looking at
it
Jose
won't be
Urena.
that guy, but it'll be guys like them.
Yeah, Alex Wood.
It's not going to be somebody who's been on the White Sox recently, like Jose Urena.
I threw out Quintana. Is that a little far enough removed?
Maybe.
It is.
All right.
Great.
Here's the catch. Here's the infield for you. I got Corey Lee as the catcher, making $800K. I got Gavin Sheets as the first baseman, making $2.6 million. At second base, I got Lenyn Sosa, making $800K.
You hit well.
Shortstop, he's back. It's Jake Amaya, making $800K. And at third base, Miguel Vargas making $800K. Designated hitter Brian Ramos making $800K, who could play first, third base. And as we learned, he might even be playing the outfield in 2025, as they might try that out in spring training. So your infield, catcher Lee, first base Sheets, second base Sosa, shortstop Amaya, third base Vargas, DH Brian Ramos. Thoughts?
I would like to have Brooks Baldwin in there somehow.
He's on the bench.
Okay. I want him starting over Amaya or Lenyn Sosa.
All right. Well, that's easily interchangeable. He's on the team. He's making $800.
I think Sosa is an easy start at second base for the way he finished the season offensively. As we talked about earlier, I think still Andrew Vaughn will be there on opening day at first base. I think Edgar Caro could be the opening day catcher. I'll be quite honest with you. I don't know if that will happen, but I think it is very possible. And then we'll see with Miguel Vargas. I think there could be a little bit of a position battle in spring training between him and Brian Ramos, because what you talked about all year makes total sense. Why stop Brian Ramos right now? If Brian Ramos is just starting, I mean, why block him from growing into a guy who could be your third baseman in the future? I know they traded for Miguel Vargas because they're probably high on what he could be too, but here's a guy who's shown some versatility. Let him be the versatile guy. Don't try to teach Brian Ramos a new position. I mean, if he can handle it, sure, but don't try to heap onto his plate of learning to be a major leaguer a new position that he's never played before. Miguel Vargas has played multiple positions before. Why not try to make him your guy that can play second base, or your guy that can play a corner outfield spot? That would be my thought. I'm taking off my Chris Getz hat right now, but
Those are your Vinnie thoughts.
I also think that they need something of a stopgap at shortstop. I don't think they can tell you right now when Colson Montgomery would be coming up. I think they would tell you that they would hope it would be before the end of the season, but I think they need something. I mean, Jake Amaya, nice guy, but and the defense was okay at times, but yeah, I mean, the hitting, you need something there that seems to me to be like a bring in a low cost veteran on a minor league deal and let him be the captain of the infield for 3 months while you're waiting for Colson Montgomery, right? I
have a name that I haven't
Is Elvis Andrus still available?
He is. The name I ended up putting on the bench, and the Vargas point's fair. I think just what we saw from the end of 2024, that they'll likely just start Vargas at third base and have Ramos be wherever. But if it's flipped, Vargas is the DH/floater, and you have Ramos at third base, I'd be fine with that. And also, too, Lenyn, we've seen him play first base, so he could also be a part of that platoon where Sheets is your lefty first baseman and Sosa is your righty first baseman, or just a part of that bunch. The bench, I have no Edgar Caro. I think especially with his back injury, they might want to see him just kind of dominate AAA
Sean
again.
Sean Anderson, a big Chucky Robinson guy.
No.
Uh-oh.
It is a reunion. He's
Carlos
back.
Perez?
folks.
Wellington Castillo?
Wellington Castillo is not back. Who'd you say?
Carlos Perez?
Carlos Perez is not back.
Yes?
Not Yaz. Yaz is actually the most producing catcher.
Productive. He's the most productive.
Most productive
Free agent
2025
catcher.
free agent catcher.
Top of the market.
At 2 WAR.
Top of the market.
I didn't go top of the market.
Yaz was a 2-WAR player for the Pirates.
Oh,
last
are you
year.
talking about former Met, former Baltimore Oriole, James McCann?
I'm not. James McCann would be a nice add, but I think that James McCann will likely just be on a playoff team. He seems a little bit too good, especially defensively, to not be someone's backup catcher. I think he's, just as good as Austin Hedges, if not better.
Is he a free agent?
Hell,
He is a free agent.
Hell, his starter was terrible in the second half.
Someone got DFA'd from Boston this year.
Oh, Reese McGuire.
Dollar General's favorite.
Goodness gracious.
Reese McGuire.
I'm good.
Back on a $1.5 million contract. Herb, you're acting like this team is going to actually be able to sign anybody.
No.
The whole point is that this is the island of misfit toys.
Got it. But we don't need to just sign people just to sign them. We have
You're not
a
signing
backup
them to sign
catcher.
them.
We have a backup catcher. Carlos Perez be fine. So would
He's
Chucky
not in the
Robinson.
organization
I mean,
anymore.
but I'm saying, like, you're going to go out and sign Reese McGuire. It's going to cost you money. No.
$1.5 million
No.
compared to the $800
No.
that Chucky Robinson
No.
would make.
800.
I think it's worth that $700K difference because Chucky Robinson had a OPS under 400. And they combine numbers to make that number bigger. It was 356.
Yeah,
I think his OPS plus was like 26.
I wouldn't have Chucky
Reese
Robinson
was
on
at
the
like
team either.
60.
I'll be like Vinny.
But here's
my guy would start. My guy, Edgar Carroll, would start next year, and he would be the guy.
I think that Caro will be a part of the team. I think that it'd be easy to move on from McGuire. You just moved on from Maldonado's $4 million during the year.
To that point, why sign somebody to a major league contract at all? Yeah. You can get a Reese McGuire on a minor league contract and an invite to spring training. You boost him up to the big league team on opening day. He's there for 2 months and then he leaves, right?
Chris Flexen.
I mean, that's the thing is that like I think you're not shooting too high in terms of money. The money is small that you're committing. You're shooting too high in terms of like you need to sign guys to major league contracts. Like this is a rebuilding team. They don't need guys who are able to get jobs somewhere else. They can just get a guy who would be in AAA and he comes to the White Sox and he's just on the White Sox for a little bit.
All right. I mean, I'll take Reese McGuire off the list. So Chris Flexen and Reese McGuire have been ousted for making too much money.
Yep.
So we'll go find somebody that makes league minimum. At least the outfield, Benintendi's not going anywhere. He's making $17.1 million. Robert's not going anywhere. He's making $15 million. I would like for them to trade Robert, but it does seem like the wrong time to do so. If he starts the year on the team, I won't be upset. Right field. I do have Dominic Fletcher on the bench making $800K, but the starting right fielder for the White Sox, let's try this on for size. Chris Getz, what do you think of $3 million for Michael A. Taylor?
F-. No. Why spend money when you have Dominic Fletcher? As I talked about,
So
these
Herb
trades,
wants them to spend $60 million.
I want them to. No, I don't want to spend.
Yes, you do.
I don't want them to spend any money on a bad team for Michael A. Taylor. What's
that your money?
What's that gonna do? You're going to do that same thing that you tried to do last year with Tommy Pham and Paul DeYoung, where you're trying to flip Michael A. Taylor at the trade deadline, which you could just have the guy that they traded for in Dominic Fletcher played a great right field. He can't hit worth a lick, but let him get 140 games out there and be a defensive stalwart out there. Don't spend any money on Michael A. Taylor or these Michael Confortos or these just
Conforto would actually cost money.
These also ran
$3 million
right fielders. Like these are just replacements, and you already have a bunch of right fielders that you could play and probably get the same type of production out of them as you would get from Michael A. Taylor.
All right, so I'll just update this and get rid of.
No, you could have your own thing.
No. I'm going to get rid of Ahmed Rosario as well.
Jesus Christ!
Ahmed Rosario is going to make $1.75 million as a little floater.
That's a guy that they could get to play shortstop.
No. I mean, he was going to make $1.75 million. So I mean, that's going to be spending money. So we got to add another utility player here. Fletcher, Baldwin. Who else is out there?
Well, you don't have Gavin Sheets on the team.
I do have Sheets.
Oh,
Sheets is my first baseman.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Got to find somebody really disgusting then for this team. 2025 White Sox. Who else is like a third base, shortstop? We had Corey Julks. Corey Julks still technically
He's on the team. Yeah.
Right. I mean, let's just keep him around. I mean, you're not paying him any money.
Nope.
So there you go. I mean, there you go, Herb. Yeah, we're going to put Corey Julks there for $800K, and that's going to take your team to a $61 million payroll. You happy?
I think that I agree with Herb in that Fletcher is a guy who probably is going to get a longer look. I think his health prevented him from getting a longer look this year, plus the mid-year commitment they made to Tommy Pham. But remember, Chris gets traded for Dominic Fletcher.
Yes.
And even if he looks at it as kind of a low-level trade, like, you traded for the guy.
Yes.
Go ahead and see what he can do. Like, I don't think anybody's expecting him to come back next year and hit 30 home runs, but, like, here's a guy that this is what a rebuilding year is made for, is to give a guy like that some run to see if he can figure it out and become something for your team.
How much would Jason Hayward cost to play right field? He's got ties to Chicago and is a free agent this year.
Kevin just wants all former Cubs on the White Sox.
He said that he only signed with the Dodgers because of Freddie Freeman. So I think that he was close to walking away.
And then he
I think
traded.
he's got enough money.
He's got ties to Chicago. He still lives here.
But I think he's got enough money to the point where I don't think
He's
he's
done.
interested in playing baseball anymore. I think he'd be fine with winning a World Series, but the Dodgers moved on from him. I think his career's over. I mean, I wouldn't be against it, but I think I put him in an off-season project plan like 2 years ago.
What's
all right,
Ben
so now
Zobrist doing, Kev? You want him on the White Sox too?
Singing the stretch.
Yeah, so now
Drinking
with
some beers.
Much better than his former wife. Ooh.
now with
Terrible.
our final changes here, since we're not going to pay anybody,
Sorry, Sean.
$61.7 million.
That's real low. That's some Cleveland Guardians number right there.
Well, and wait, but let me take it back. So if we just kept my players from going 61.7, I was spending 67 million.
It's not much.
So I cut out 6 million. So Herb, there you go. You can sleep better at night with your 6 million.
Jerry loves my plan much more than your plan. Jerry's like,
They spent $22 million on free agents for last year's team, and I have them spending $6 million.
Jerry's watching this show, and he's like, "Hey,
they're going to spend something."
He's like, "Why is Chris Getz here? Herb's out here doing the right thing, spending no money on this team."
There are going to be bets made on guys that they can hope that they think they can trade at the trade deadline. And let's be honest, Eric Fetty, was a real guy that they signed last offseason. Yeah, we talked a lot about, guys who were on maybe minor league deals or really cheap major league deals that nobody else was signing, right? But Eric Fetty was a real player, and I think there's going to be something like that, maybe not to that degree, but with the intent of doing what they did with Eric Fetty, which is turning it into something at the trade deadline.
Yeah, and if we can go to the chat just real quick, we'll take out Jesse Schultens and Addison Coffey. We'll add them on one single line here because I don't know what the status of Schultens will be, but I did miss Prelander Baroa, so shout out to Drake there. For saying Prelander. Prelander's going to be in the bullpen.
Oh yeah, he was
on opening day. He was already awesome. He was pretty awesome. I did throw in Zach DeLoach, so I took out our guy Corey Julks, put in Zach DeLoach there, so that probably makes people feel a little bit better. And Justin throwing out Jacob Wilco, so I don't think that's him. I think
there's one
George.
player on there you could sign and immediately flip to the Dodgers ahead of the postseason next year, Kike Hernandez. Then you're going to get something back.
Yeah,
that wasn't a former Cub.
Yeah, that wasn't a former Cub. I don't think it's awful.
they're going to
bring that celebration to the South Side. Everybody will love it.
Yeah, I wonder how
home run
cheap
celebration
he'd actually be. You want to do it right now for us?
I'm
you
good.
Want to send us out? Okay. That's
good.
going to do it for the CHGO White Sox not post-game show. There's no post-game. We haven't had a game in months. That's going to do it for the CHGO White Sox podcast. We will talk to you tomorrow at 4 p.m. Feels like months. That's Vinnie Duber, our CHGO White Sox beat writer. Recruit his work at allchgo.com. That's Herb Lawrence. You can follow him at EctorWall23. I'm Sean Anderson. Thank you to Kevin Wells for producing the show. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 4 p.m. Goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.